Lasers. Lasers are so...
90s?
I was gonna say 70s. Can you please stop making me feel old?
Got bad news for you, Sam. You are old.
Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Splinter Cell Chaos Theory 100% expert walkthrough. This is mission 7, it is the Battery. One of the better songs on Master of Puppets. And this is a tough level, guys. This level took me 5, maybe 6 attempts to get. And every time I failed, I couldn't honestly tell you why. It was just really confusing, really annoying. Words, it's very tricky sometimes when your mind is just reliving the nightmares, as I do the awesome split jump to climb up onto this scaffolding, and I continue to walk across this girder towards this rooftop. So I'm going to put that light out so that nobody sees me, just in case. You can walk quietly here. If you do make a noise, I don't think it's going to hinder you too much, but I choose not to anyway. The problem with these levels, and the problem with these 100% ranks, is the levels are long, regardless. Like, there's no speedrunning these levels in 2 minutes. You can't do it. Like, I would love to watch a speedrun where some dude is jumping through geometry and getting to the end of the levels and everything, but you wouldn't 100% it, so it's useless to us. We have to do all the level pretty much every time we try, and when we make a mistake, when a body gets found and we don't know or we don't realise or some bullshit like that, there's no way we get that 40 minutes back that it took us to do. We have to play it again and waste another 40 minutes or however long it takes you. And the average time for a level in this game is like 20 minutes. 20 minutes is like world record speeds, because everything is so methodical. You can't run around these levels, you just can't do it. Like, there's no sneak event that skips everything. It just doesn't exist. It's intended to be played in a rather specific manner. And that is not to say you can't run around and make noise and things, but on Expert, you're not going to win gunfights. It's not designed for you to win gunfights. If you're getting one with more than one dude, if you win, it's probably because you got really lucky. Like, you die fast. It's always been that way. So you lose a lot of time. Like, one of the times when I was almost certain I got the 100%, a body levitated in an elevator and went through the geometry. Like, the elevator started going down, this body stayed where it was until it went through the roof of the lift and just vanished into the ether. And at the end of the mission, I had a kill. Because I assume when the elevator stopped, it reapplied the physics engine to the body and it fell all the way down the elevator shaft and died. Like, you can't plan for that. Except for, you know, do not knock anybody out in an elevator, which is probably the best thing to do. But it's that type of bullshit that you don't know it's going to work that way until it does, and it's rare. So my biggest advice to anybody struggling with these levels and randomly getting bodies found, randomly getting kills and things that they just cannot think of why, is to do less. Are you knocking everybody out and they're finding bodies even though you're hiding them really well? Don't give them any bodies to find. Like, anything that is backfiring on you, try to not do it. Try to work around it. You know, you've got to always mix up your strategy. Another great one would be only save during the level when you guaranteed you know that you've done everything right and nothing's going to come back later and bite you in the bum. Like, I quick save all the time, but I only hard save in very specific areas, when I've done objectives or when I've done something I don't particularly want to do again. And you have to be certain if you're going to save in this way, because there's nothing worse than reloading a save and finishing a level 20 times, and whatever it is that you actually fucked up is in the part before you saved, in the part you thought you'd done right. That is the worst, and you want to avoid that. And I'm hoping you watched this video, you followed some of these strategies and it worked perfectly for you and you had no issue, because then you don't know what it feels like to have to repeat a level 10 to 15 times, because that is not fun, dude. Like, I don't care who you are. If you enjoy that, well, wow, you must be a very special kind of person, because it's a punishment that's brutal. Because there's nothing worse than having to do something you don't particularly want to do repeatedly. And I think this game is great. I think this game is really fun. But when I'm recording it for YouTube, then it becomes less about my enjoyment and more about the service that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create a piece of work that helps people of any skill level get through the game. And if I can't do what I'm saying I'm trying to do, and I'm having all these attempts, then it's not going to make a great video unless it does exactly what it's meant to do. And the pursuit of that purpose, that can be incredibly frustrating. But the joy of that process is you don't see that. That stuff gets edited out. You see the good run. You see the, you know, the pinnacle of the attempts, and you see a long list of the successes. Almost in some people's minds it makes them think that there were no fails, when really there was a lot, you just didn't see them. So this room here, I shot the light out because there is a camera on the left. I think there's also a camera on the right, and then I'm going to pick up this guy in his tank top and we're going to move him behind this box. Behind this box there is a sneaky piece of ventilation that will enable you to access an area later on, but if you do it immediately, you're going to miss out on one of the objectives off the computer. The computer is in this room, and you have to pick a lock. I know if I break this lock, I will not alert anybody, because I have broken this lock several times and not alerted anybody. This guy's listening to a bit of Korean Whitney Houston or something, so we're going to go and have our words with him and hit up his computer. This guy's sat down, which means it can be very tricky to knock him out without him seeing you. My advice is to hug the right hand side of the chair, and you should have no problems. If you go too close to the left, he'll sometimes just spin around and look at you, and that can be a very bad thing. So pick up the system logs, turn off the lights if you want to, move the bodies if you want to. I do all of this out of sheer paranoia. I'm almost certain there's no enemies in this area that will come and see this body, but just in case, I'm going to dump him in a corner. And I'm also going to shoot the light out. Cause and effect though, people. Everything you do in a level on Splinter Cell can have some kind of effect. If a light is out and a guard patrols into that area, he's going to notice the light is out. If he looks around that area and goes in a pattern you weren't expecting and he finds a body, you're in trouble. And he can be doing this when you're on the other side of the level. So you always have to think about exactly what you're doing and how it reflects in the game world. The only other game that is really like this is Hitman. And Hitman is usually on quite a larger scale because that's kind of the point. But with Hitman, there are disguises, which means a lot of the times you can completely mitigate the need of putting people down. Here, it's a little different. You can go through all of these levels without knocking anybody out. However, the paths to do that are much more difficult than the paths that I'm sharing here. So, this is the rocket room. I'm going to shoot over there to try and get someone's attention. And then I'm going to climb up here. I've done this enough times to know that I can turn off the power over here and have enough time to get back over here to deal with the people that are going to come and turn it back on. So we know there's two dudes in this room. We know they have torches when they need them. And we also have an idea of where they're going to go. So here comes the first guy. And here comes the second guy. You know the first guy is going to turn the light on. You know the second guy is going to cover him while he does it. With that knowledge, we have to somehow work out a way to deal with either both of them, or deal with neither of them. My choice here is to put on the smoke grenade, the gas grenade. They both go across there, I fire a gas grenade, and it knocks both of them out. Simple, effective. There you go, room is clear. Now they're both knocked out, we can proceed to go to the next area. So I'm going to turn the lights off again, just to hide the bodies, just in case that imaginary guy who fails me all those other times comes back to try and wish death upon me again. And we're going to mess with this, which is going to mean that the missile will move, and we can then climb up monkey style and get our way into the next part of the battery. So, even though I played this level a dozen times and it really frustrated me because I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong and I was getting penalised for it because I couldn't figure out what it was I was doing wrong, I still enjoyed it and I still really appreciated the flow of it because I think this level is expertly designed. I don't think it's the most interesting level, but just the flow of it and how you can circumvent a lot of the situations is quintessential Splinter Cell design. And it's the type of stuff that I think Blacklist did really well. And like I really love Splinter Cell. It's funny too because if they annualize this game like they've done to your Assassin's Creeds, like they've done to your Far Cry's now, like inevitably most games are going to move towards this model. I don't know if I'd mind just because of how much I like stealth gameplay when it's done intelligently and with care. And I suppose the next question one would ask is, would it be done intelligently and carefully if it was, you know, so quickly put out? Because all games, I like to think, are built with great intent, but not necessarily always delivered on. And I don't know. I really don't know. It's that thing, isn't it? It's that constant contradiction of we want more, but the more we have, the less we appreciate it, because we become, you know, desensitized to its unique specialness, and we get a little bit saturated with it. And I have no doubt that if there was 20 Splinter Cells, I would probably feel differently about them, because stealth never changes, you know. Stealth has a few iterations here, a few iterations there, but for the most, very, very simple mechanics that become more complicated when you utilize them in certain ways. So I'm knocking this guy out. The camera I just tranked, I think swivels, but if you put this die, not even the right word, put this guy near these missiles, you'll have no issue from him. Also, these rooms are going to change, so you have to be very conscientious about your placements here, which is why I'm shooting the lights out. On the second phase of this level, these two rooms will have different enemies in them, because it's going to open up extra sections to them. And those extra enemies, there's only like one, but if he sees any of the bodies, you've failed to get 100%. And I don't know if I've mentioned this earlier, which I probably should have. You don't have to get 100%. There's a trophy on this game, which is the one I'm trying to help people get, where I think you need to have an average of 80% on every level. 80% on every level is incredibly doable. If I were simply going by that standard and not 100%, I would have recorded this entire guide on my first attempt, because 80% is very, very lenient. 100%, not quite so lenient. And yeah, so there you go. But I suppose annualized gaming is an interesting thing. Like, look at Guitar Hero, for example. Guitar Hero and Rock Band are a series that are apparently coming back, and it's been a little while since the last ones, but personally I don't think it's been long enough. I don't think it's been long enough for the public's perception to heal, because I think Rock Band is more innocent than Guitar Hero, because unfortunately Guitar Hero got bought out by Activision, and Neversoft went on to do the designs, and I don't think they were bad games. I just think that Activision had an unrealistic expectation and scheduling of their releases. Guitar Hero 2 and 3 are two of the finest rhythm games that exist. They are easily my favourites. I never liked Rock Band. I appreciated it, and I think Harmonix, who were the fathers of that game and of the original Guitar Heroes, I think they make excellent rhythm games, and I think Rock Band was great for the people that enjoyed it, but I always preferred the more relaxed timing of Guitar Hero 3, which is the direction where Guitar Hero went. And if you're not too sure what I'm talking about, it's in relation to the window of inputs for when you press the notes on those games. Harmonix designed Guitar Hero 1 and 2. They were both exceptional games. They were innovative, they were interesting, and they sparked this, you know, this love for these musical rhythm games. However, the timing was also a lot stricter. The charts weren't quite as ambitious and overly tabbed as Guitar Hero 3's became, but the timing on the hammer-ons and the pull-offs was very, very tight. And it was so tight that it made some of the solos not as fun to play as they would have been if they were a little bit more relaxed. And when Guitar Hero 3 came out, the timing window was a little bit more relaxed. You could press it a little bit earlier and just a little bit later, which opened up this door into insane tabs, insanely crazy flowcharts of requirements from the player, which is why songs like Dragon Force and The Devil Went Down to Georgia became, you know, so popular and so infamous in their difficulty, because the charts were so super ridiculous due to this relaxed input that the game allowed you to get. If you're a fighting game player, think of it as the difference between Third Strike's inputs and Street Fighter 4, where if you mash a bottom corner, you can kind of get a Dragon Punch, whereas in Third Strike you won't unless you do the precise motion. Think of it like that, but with timing. And it made Guitar Hero 3 a lot more accessible, it made it easier, but also at a higher end, it made it more fun. Because nailing a solo on Jordan, on Expert, on Guitar Hero 2 is insanely difficult. Nailing the same solo on Guitar Hero 3 with that just that extra emphasis on a more relaxed window, so much easier. And with that difference in execution, that you know, it's only seconds. It's very slight, folks. It's not as ridiculous as I'm making it out to be, unless you know what you're talking about and you understand what I mean. But it's enough to have such a profound effect and make that game incredibly fun. And Rock Band went back to Guitar Hero 2's timing window, where the solos were, if you were even remotely off by a couple of frames, you would drop the entire thing. And I never liked that, because I suppose execution-wise, skill-wise, I wasn't the best player. Even though I did actually 5-star the entire set list on Guitar Hero 2 on Expert, and got that achievement for doing it, which was really fun. But getting back on topic, sorry for those that have no interest in rhythm games or Guitar Heroes and things. Those games got drove into the ground, and now they're coming back. But the problem with those titles is everybody's music taste is different. As I sneak up on this guy. Sneaky, sneaky. I have a really good path through this level, but that's what happens when you play it as much as I did. Hopefully you'll have the same luck as me. Really, really good strategies here. Hope they help a lot of people. But everybody's music taste is different. And that's the main issue. The songs I want in Guitar Hero are not the same songs you want in Guitar Hero. Same with Rock Band. And judging by the setlist that they've showed so far, they've gone super fucking poppy. They've gone like anti-guitar songs. Like, I'll never understand this choice. Like, you look at the earlier titles, they were about these crazy guitar-focused songs, you know? You could be a Guitar Hero playing these memorable riffs that, even if you weren't interested in rock, you knew them because they were so, you know, they were everywhere. They're just classical pieces of music that will live on far longer than the people who wrote them. Yet, these new set lists just, they look like they were made to appeal to a very specific demographic, which is unfortunately the largest demographic, which is of course popular music. And just because something's popular doesn't mean it's a giant sack of dog shit. It just means a lot of people like it. And, you know, a lot of people have liked a lot of things. Back in the old days, a lot of people liked human sacrifice and murdering infants to hope that the rain god would turn up and water the crops for them. Doesn't mean they were good or great ideas, just means that everybody did it, so we just kind of did it. And it's the same thing here, minus, you know, infanticide. Popular music is great if you like it. I like certain aspects of popular music and certain pieces of pop. For the most, I don't really like it, and I don't think it lends itself very well for Guitar Hero games. So I'd just like to apologise right now, folks, for the tonal shift in the commentary. I have no idea what I was just saying, but it will not be following on for the rest of this video, because unfortunately I lost the commentary. It sucked. It sucked big time. It was... I really liked it as well. It's one of those frustrating things when you're making a walkthrough where sometimes you get a really good run, and sometimes it just fails. And I lost it, and it kind of bummed me out for a couple of weeks. So this is actually a month after I did the first part of the commentary, which is a disgrace, really. I should have finished this a long time ago, but I'm one of those pretty emotional guys when it comes to creativity, so when something fucks me off, I sometimes, you know, I need some space, and that is exactly what I did. So we're back in this incredibly dark game, and we're sneaking through the battery to do one of the more tricky levels. This level took me so many attempts, it's not even funny. It really did. And the worst part about it was I didn't know where the mistakes were. You can see the guard just to my right there moving through that bit of amber lighting. He's going to move there, he's going to stop, and then he's going to position himself over to the right. We're going to follow him as he turns around, and we're going to deal with him then. At this point, the mission's not too bad. You just need to make sure you don't get screwed, and it's so easy for it to happen. It almost feels really glitchy at times, and I don't want to call it a glitch in the game because I think it's so easy to just blame stuff you don't know on the game, and a lot of the times it turns out to not be the case. Like, I have a hilarious moment in the Witcher 3 playthrough where I can't start a mission because I can't sit in this boat with Yennefer, and it turns out the game wanted me to sit on the complete opposite end of the boat in a place I've never sat before, so I didn't realise you could. So I'm trying to sit where she's sitting, and the game's having none of it, and I got really mad, and I was like, oh, this is glitchy, the pathfinding's broken, the scripting's broken, and I ended up breaking the game in the end, where it left Yennefer behind, and I took off in the boat without her in her seat. Like, I completely just busted the game. And afterwards, sometime after, I realised, shit, the game wanted you to do something different. And whereas I do think that that's a failing on the game's end, where it didn't signify that it wanted me to sit at the other end of the boat enough, it just kept saying, like, get on the fucking boat, and I did, and nothing was happening. It was also a failing on my part, and now I know how it's expecting you to do it. It's something that I'll never do again. Whereas in this, like, I didn't know what the mistakes were. Like, 2 people saw bodies. Like, where? I didn't leave bodies. Like, you know, just weird stuff. So it got me so paranoid that I didn't even want to do things I knew that worked. Like, for instance, in a room just like this, there's these people by the computers, like, firing gas grenades. Like, there was this paranoia in me that was maybe they're seeing the gas grenade and it's counting as an alert before it knocks them out, which is complete and utter nonsense. It's not how it works. But when you start to doubt yourself because the game is openly cheating you, you wonder just what the hell's going on. And it's one of those things where I've watched back the raw footage for this game several times, trying to spot these mistakes that the game blames me for, and I just don't see them. And as much as I can have a selective vision of things, like, it just doesn't make sense. But I put this light out just once again because of paranoia, to hope that nobody sees it, and then we're going to push back through into the main heart of the battery that we've passed. You'll notice that I always walk around crouched. It's one of those things where it just makes perfect sense on expert. The hearing that the enemies have is profound. It truly is. Like, the first Splinter Cell was tricky, the second Splinter Cell was easier because I was in the mood. This one just mixed it up really, really bigly, and I don't even think bigly is a word, but we'll go with it, it sounds funny. Like, it got to the point where I got so used to this new system that it wasn't much of an issue by the time we got here, but the adjustment was kind of crazy as we move back through the computer room that we were in previously. We're going to go to the complete opposite side. This is a mirrored setup here of this elevator. So now the other door's going to open like the last one did, and we're going to go through there. But I'm going to be real sneaky here because there's sometimes a guy sitting at this desk who isn't there at this moment. So I'm going to stealth my way up, be as careful as I can. At this moment in time, the video is dark, but you can still see what's happening. It might be a bit tricky, especially on YouTube, because the quality that YouTube does, like right now, this is probably tricky, but luckily enough, you can see the light. So you know where you are, you know where the light is, you just have to put yourself in a spot where the light is not. So it's really dark, but that's the game, you know. And I have messed around with color correction and messing with the brightness to see if it makes much of a difference, and it does, but I don't think it makes enough of a difference to warrant all the extra compositing bullshit that you have to do to make it work. So I'm fine with how this looks. Like, there's moments in certain levels where you're like, yeah, this is pretty fucking stupid, but for the most, they're not in areas where you're ever going to really have too much trouble, so I'm okay with that. But there goes the missile. We now need to sneak into this bunker, and this is the bunker that might give you some issue, because there's a couple of guys. But as you can hear from Sam and his super spy intellect, there's a guy on the right here, and then there's 2 guys on my left. So be careful when you knock this guy out, because sometimes you can alert him. And then here I'm going to fire a smoke grenade in between both of these guys. It's a gas grenade, technically. And then we're going to get the codes off this computer, and we're going to have to run all the way back to that computer that I snuck past when I mentioned that there's oftentimes a guy there, if you remember. So, just for the sake of paranoia, I moved this body. You don't have to do that, but once again, I failed this mission so many times, I was at the point of breaking. And this is not a tricky mission, guys, it just isn't. So there's the gas grenade. And boom. I stand even behind cover just so there's no hope of anybody seeing me. Like, at this point, I've got this shit down to a practiced science, and I'm still afraid it's gonna go wrong. Like, you'll notice I'm tiptoeing even though I don't need to, just because of the paranoia. As I turn a computer off when I'm trying to access it. This is the wrong computer, by the way, it's the one over there that we need the codes from. Somebody brought it to my attention as well that I hack on this game a more difficult way than you need to do. Apparently there's a way to slow it down, and I literally did not ever know that. It's one of those weird things, isn't it? You get used to playing a game in a certain way, and even if you're missing a whole aspect of it, until the moment you realise that, or somebody shows you it, you're completely oblivious of it. Like, I was playing Witcher 3 the other day, and I was playing as Ciri, and Ciri has this ability to charge this special attack when you build this bar up, and it kills almost everything in the vicinity. She teleports around, killing everything. I don't use it once in the playthrough because I'm too busy having fun with her good dodge. And I know I'm going to get comments from people like, why aren't you blinking, why aren't you doing that crazy move? And I'm like, I literally didn't know it existed. Because I was too busy, like, she moves so good, I love how fast she is, let me fight like this all the time. And there's even moments when I'm like, there's too many dudes, this is a bit bullshit, where I could have used that move and it would have made perfect sense, and I just didn't realise you could. It's just that insane thing of, you know, everybody just has that thing they miss in video games, and when you put it out on the internet, everybody points it out. But that's the end of the mission, guys. There is the objectives, there is the 100%, and there is the biggest sigh of relief I probably had in this entire playthrough outside of the bathhouse. But fuck the bathhouse, that level sucks. Even though it was my favourite before I started this project. Yeah, Splinter Cell, Chaos Theory, 100% expert. You take care now.